All right, so I'm going to do this in one take because I'm not trying to be fancy or anything, and I don't know. This is probably going to come off badly, but I needed to do an update about where I am with things right now because I have had videos that I've been wanting to get out, trying to finish, and I haven't been able to put them out for various reasons. Just a lot going on the last week in my life, but anyway, but tonight, I found out that my cat died, and I don't want to explain how it was a freak accident and it was no one's negligence. Um, but it was bad, and I think there was prolonged suffer. I know there was prolonged suffering, and I'm getting on here and telling you this just because it's 4:30 in the morning, and I have cried for hours and have had like basically kind of panic attacks or whatever because just the idea of anything suffering, but the idea of something that you care about so much. And I didn't want to get on and do a video like that for sure. And so, I'm just finally at a point where I'm worn out. It's 4:30 and I can't sleep, and I have this pressure on me of I feel like I need to get some videos out. I've had things in the pipeline for a week, and there's just been a lot going on the last few weeks. Some of it related to the videos I've been putting out, some videos that I worked on that didn't end up being put out for various reasons. People who were interviewed who didn't ended up not wanting their interviews put out, which is fine. And then, anyway, the point is like there's been a lot of stuff going on, and it's been rough. In a number of ways. And of course, the whole YouTube monetization saga, which is really not resolved. Anyway, I don't care. Like, basically, the point is, I was supposed to do a lot. I was supposed to get some work done today on this YouTube stuff, and I have videos that I've been wanting to put out for days, and and I have fans and supporters and viewers and patrons and people who care about these issues and these causes. And I know some of them wonder, why I haven't put anything out. And so anyway, but unfortunately, on top of some other things that have been going on, yeah, I found out this horrible thing about my cat. And I know that putting this video up, probably it's going to be mostly poorly received because there's just I guess no right way to behave. I didn't want to get on. I would not get on here and start bawling. And so, it's been hours. Like, I found out about this hours and hours and hours ago. And anyway, and so was like basically having panic attacks and was like screaming and acting like a crazy person, honestly. But this was so upsetting to me, and like I said, I don't want to give details because it's just I don't even want people with that in their heads. Just know that it's like a horrible thing that you would not want to imagine happening to any living creature, much less your pet. And I don't have kids, and so yeah, I have several cats, and this was one of my cats. It was a stray that I've been taking care of. Anyway, so I just kind of I guess the point is I have a lot of stuff I need to be doing for YouTube. And I was hoping that I could have, Monday is tomorrow. I could have a lot of stuff pushed out. Like, I've got like, two videos and things that need to go up on Patreon, and people that I need to talk to. Um, but my point in talking about the cat thing is that this is one of those times in my life when I've just been hit, and like I said, I'm worn out now, but I've just been hit by how utterly horrific life can be. And it's not like I needed something like this to happen to tell me that. I mean, it's self-evident to anyone with intelligence. And I've like all of you in the audience, I have been through other things before that were horrible and lost people and seen people go through suffering and tragedy. And maybe there's some people out there when I say, my cat died in a horrible way, they might be almost insulted. Some people are like, a cat is just a cat. But I hope that most of you understand. Most people, I think, Most people, I think, know that one of the earliest real heartaches we have in life is losing a pet, losing a pet. And Pet Cemetery, one of my favorite horror novels. Uh, this is really the sort of the underlying horror underneath all of it. Really, is that at an early age we have to come to terms with death and suffering and tragedy. So I'm not here whining or whatever, but there's a point to this. Well, the main point was just to explain why I have no content coming out today, and I don't think I'm gonna have anything coming out today. But but the other thing I want to say is this, I have made a number of I have made a number of philosophy videos and sort of spiritual videos in which I talk about, my beliefs that there's a deeper meaning, and that ultimately there is a purpose, and ultimately things make sense, and I believe in an ultimately more or less benevolent God. And I just want to say though that I think that the most motivating way to live one's life is generally theistic and having a higher power, and that's the only thing that's keeping a lot of people sober, frankly. And I do think if you hooked me up to a lie detector test and you asked for my real opinion, I do believe in God, and I do still believe in a higher purpose, even after losing people through the years. And I'm not saying that losing this cat is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. It's just I just can't stand the idea that it suffered a lot. That's the thing that gets me. It's not even death so much. I mean, yeah, death sucks. It sucks that, I'm not gonna be able to see that cat anymore and all of that. But I could be okay with that, particularly since I do believe that we move on to something else. But just the amount of hell on earth, forget some other hell on earth, and the suffering that people go through at various times, or that they go through before they die, and animals go through, and it's just um so I do ultimately, I guess, have a somewhat positive view of life, theologically, spiritually, philosophically, ultimately. But it's kind of like in Game of Thrones. In Game of Thrones, where Sansa says that her father taught her that you don't listen to anything that comes before the word but, because it's only the part that comes after but that's really truthful. Well, I'm not saying that, but this world is it is hard to take. It is hard to take, and we all know it. And I don't even have to explain it. But I think sometimes what makes it harder is when you feel that there is some kind of heroic, valiant, tough, stoic standard that you're supposed to live up to, and that you're constantly I feel often this guilt for not being more positive, and at times when I get very morose and depressed about life, and I don't know how many of you can identify with this or not, but at times when I get very morose and depressed about life, there are a number of people who love me and are well-meaning, who try to talk me out of it, and try to, I think, convince me that there's a certain not only irrationality, but a certain self-destructiveness in focusing on the suffering of life, and the I guess cynical perspective that maybe it doesn't make sense. And people will try to talk you out of this, and I understand, this is not an optimal how I am right now, how I've felt for the last hours since I found out about this. And this feeling, we all know it and we all have it. It's not like an optimal state, right? Like it's not a productive, it's not a motivational state. And you can get really lost in the blackness of it. I know, and we all have. But it is very hard to go through things in life that there's just no other way around it except it's horrific. There are horrific things. There are horrific things that we have to go through and that we have to witness. And sometimes there's just no way to be okay with that. And that's the thing that I find myself struggling with so much, not just tonight or this morning, but in my life, is I feel that I am constantly being torn apart by two completely oppositional, not only drives, but oppositional ways of viewing the world. And one is this, I guess, ultimate positivity or ultimate meaningfulness or purposefulness, and this belief in some kind of a higher power and a larger meaning, et cetera, that would even encompass the suffering or somehow in the end make it worth it. There's that part of me that wants to be productive, that wants to move forward in the world boldly and with like zest. You know, there are these people who have this zest about life. Like they actually enjoy it. What the fuck is wrong with them? I do not have that, but I can get myself meditatively in that place, or I can get myself sort of perspectively in that place. Is not my natural disposition, but I can do it. And I ultimately think my ultimate bet, my sort of Pascalian wager that I do think is a rational one, is my bet is on meaning rather than non-meaning. But I feel very, very strongly, at times just as strongly, and at times like tonight, this morning, just it's screaming inside of me, screaming the sense of futility and not just futility, of despair and horror. You know, that's one reason why it gets on my nerves so much. I'm sorry I don't have a Kleenex. I really was not wanting to cry in this. So I didn't put a box of Kleenexes here because I felt that if I don't have the Kleenexes here, I won't maybe cry as much. Horror. And this is why, what I was saying is, this is why I get so vexed with people sometimes who complain about how our movies are too dark thematically, our TV's too dark, and oh, this was upsetting and this was upsetting. Have you looked at life lately? Because, I mean, just this thing that happened to my cat, no one's fault. This thing that happened to my cat is more horrific to me than anything I've seen in the movies. Just fantasies. But those horrific things are happening to other people too. And that's part of the horror. You know, it's not just about this cat. It's about knowing that this cat is representative of all this other stuff. And that's why that's why the things that happen in history are so disturbing too. The Holocaust is disturbing, not just because it's awful what happened to those people. Yes, that's disturbing enough, but also because you understand that could happen to those people. It could happen to you. It could happen to someone you love. Like the ubiquity of suffering. Anyway, I'm not going to try to like get into a philosophical conversation about it. And this is really all I have to say, I guess. But I'm saying it because I want you in the audience to know not only why I'm not putting out a video today, but I want you to know that, like, if you feel this way about life, I feel this way too. I feel this way too. and I'm gonna be okay. It's not, you don't need to know, I don't need to get a bunch of messages, or I mean, it's not a cry for help or anything like that. It's not. I'm gonna try to get some sleep and then get up, move on with my day if I can. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe it'll be better than I think it will. I don't know. But like, this is a horrible thing that's happened. And it reminds me of other horrible things that happened in the past as well. I don't want to go into, but like, look, we all know it. And I think probably almost everyone out there has lost a pet in a tragic way. So I don't even have to explain it to you. So anyway, I will be okay. And I don't know, maybe making this video was a mistake, but I'm going to be dead in several decades anyway. So like, what does it really matter, right? Anyways, but I am going to be okay. Everybody, yeah, I'll talk to you again soon, hopefully. Good night. Good morning. Bye.